The drill was supposed to be routine, kind of training repeated hundreds of times in sweat and steel. But this time, it escalated within seconds. They lunged at her, hands clamping around her throat, the pressure cutting off her air, the world narrowing to pain and shock. For a fleeting heartbeat, doubt flickered through her mind. Who do they think I am? She thought. Don't forget who I am. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who is listening. The soldiers around them froze, uncertainty rippling through the squad. Some had expected her to falter. Some even smirked at the challenge, thinking a female SEAL might crumble under raw force. But they didn't understand. They didn't see the countless nights she had spent perfecting every motion, anticipating every strike, learning to react before the attack even began. Her mind raced in milliseconds. The pain clawed at her lungs, but the fear that might have gripped another melted into controlled fury. Her hands, trembling not with fear but anticipation, reached for the nearest leverage point. The drill was supposed to teach them control, restraint, and teamwork, but the moment had changed. Now, it was survival. The air around them was thick with tension, dust lifting as boots scraped the concrete, sunlight catching flecks of sweat and grime. Her breathing, rapid at first, slowed into a rhythm she could harness. Every fiber of her body, trained and taught, prepared to unleash precision. Every doubt, every glance of skepticism she had endured over the years, focused into one clear thought. This ends now. She shifted, hips snapping like a coiled spring, forcing her attackers off balance. One by one, she broke their grip, but it wasn't enough. They came again, faster, more coordinated. They were confident. She could hear the murmurs, half mockery, half assessment. The squad held its collective breath, unsure what they were witnessing. Her vision sharpened. She assessed each movement with the clarity of years spent in combat simulations, missions, and grueling training. She could feel the trajectory of every strike, predict every counter. And then with a single, fluid motion she turned the tables. The first attacker's momentum was used against him, a flick of her wrist and balance, and suddenly he was off his feet. Shock registered across his face before he hit the ground. The second and third moved in, but she anticipated, pivoted, and intercepted. Time seemed to slow as her strength and skill met their force head-on. A gasp ran through the crowd of observing SEALs. Even the instructors, hardened by decades of experience, paused. They had trained many, but few moved with such precise, ruthless efficiency under immediate threat. And she was not acting out of anger. She was acting out of necessity, out of the recognition that every second mattered, that hesitation could cost control, or worse. She spun, catching an attacker mid-lunge and using leverage to break his advance. The sound of flesh and bone moving in calculated sequence echoed faintly against the walls. The chaos of the moment became her advantage. Every movement was a statement. I am here. I am trained. I am in control. Finally, as the last assailant charged, she braced, muscles locked, and delivered a strike so precise it shattered the momentum entirely. Leaf staggered back, off balance, the fight draining from him. She stood, breathing evenly now, eyes scanning the room. The squad was silent. Shock, respect, disbelief, all mixed in the air like dust motes caught in sunlight. Her chest heaved with controlled breaths. She felt the burn in her muscles, the sting of adrenaline, but also the quiet satisfaction of mastery. Around her, the murmurs grew into whispers of acknowledgement. The same men who had tried to test her, to push her to failure, now stared at her differently. Not as a woman in the SEALs, not as someone who might falter, but as a warrior who could not be underestimated. The commander stepped forward, eyes narrowing not in anger but in recognition. "Don't forget who I am," she said quietly, almost to herself, but loud enough for every observer to hear. There was no boast in her tone, no arrogance, only truth. Only proof through action. The atmosphere shifted. Respect replaced doubt. The squad, the instructors, even the onlookers, absorbed the reality. Skill, preparation, and courage could not be ignored. They had tried to impose limits on her. They had sought to test boundaries. She had answered with certainty, precision, and undeniable authority. A silence lingered for a heartbeat, then a slow ripple of applause began, not loud, not theatrical, but the kind that carries weight because it's earned. She lowered herself to her knees briefly, gathering composure, acknowledging not just her victory, but the lesson it carried. Leadership, respect, and mastery are never given lightly. They are forged in moments of challenge, of confrontation, of proving oneself when everyone doubts you. She straightened, standing taller than before, not out of pride, but presence, reclaimed control. She had reminded everyone, and perhaps herself, that training was not only about skill, but about courage, integrity, and the willingness to act when it counted. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. And in that early morning sunlight, dust swirling in the air, sweat and resolve shining on every brow, she walked away knowing that the drill had ended. But the lesson about strength, mastery, and unshakable focus would remain with them all. Every SEAL watching, every squad member who doubted, every instructor who held their breath, understood now. This was not merely training. This was a demonstration of what happens when preparation meets courage, skepticism meets resolve, and when a warrior refuses to be underestimated. If you felt the intensity, courage, and raw skill in her story, subscribe to Whispered Words for more true mission stories, where human grit and valor turn doubt into awe. Every video shows that limits exist only until someone proves otherwise. Click to watch the next story, where bravery and precision rewrite history in seconds.